30. He separates. He's to the 20, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Florida State. Warwick got up third down.
Winky looking Winky. Wants to throw the knockout punch to Warwick. Warwick open. Touchdown. He does a touchdown. He did catch it. Touchdown, Florida State. Oh, Peter Warwick, how'd you do that? Kermit Whitfield to the left side. A hole to the 30. Kermit Whitfield to the 30, to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, FSU. Kermit Whitfield, a 100-yard touchdown. Here's the snap. Winston rolling right. Throws the pass on the other. It's caught. It's caught. It's caught. Touchdown, FSU. Kelvin Benjamin.
We're doing it for everybody. We're doing it big all over the country, all over the world. And I'm proud. I'm proud to say I'm a Florida State Seminole.
This is the Garnet Old podcast with your hosts, Ryan Eastman and Vince Ciccarelli.
Welcome, everyone, to a very, very exciting Garnet and Old podcast with Vince and I. We are here for one purpose before we get into the next week's game. That is to just enjoy the beatdown that was Miami. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, Ryan. Garnet and Old, no inside info, no contacts. That game was no problem. No problem at all. It was.
And, I want to start off right from the beginning saying one thing. Look at the development in 3 years. We went from being blown off the field by Miami 3 years ago,
52-10,
where we couldn't do anything, to winning a 50-50 coin flip game last year, 4th and 14, to now 45-3. So anyone out there has any doubts that we are getting better, I just give you those 3 games.
It's, you've seen it. You've seen the progression there. I mean, literally, for people that are wondering whether we are climbing, just those 3 games alone tell you the lengths that have been taken, to get to where we are. I had some people asking me, I'm going to pull this overlay up here real quick, Ryan. Some people asking me about what the numbers mean. Hold on a second. The 414. Yeah, we all know what that one is, right? 4th and 14, and the 215. Some people were asking me about that. That 215 can also be translated as 45 minutes until 3.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Getting right into it, Vince. The game kicks off. You and I both predicted a pretty much a roughhouse of Miami. Both of you and I, although you thought my score was pretty aggressive, yours was pretty aggressive too. You gave them a little bit more of a chance of scoring some more points than me.
I did.
I think I was like around a touchdown more than you as far as like what we would score. But I would like to give us a little bit of props, because any hesitation I had on my score prediction or their score prediction was almost immediately just completely fine with just that first touchdown pass from Jordan Travis. The second he throws that dime, by the way, is there any better thrown ball where another receiver's caught it in motion than that ball? When he caught that touchdown, I said, oh, this thing, because we had already watched, us move the ball a little bit, and I thought we were doing pretty well. The second that touchdown was caught, I said, oh, it's on. And then you watch the next drive where we dominate their offense, and immediately I was like, my score is going to be pretty close.
Well, the thing about that throw is that sometimes you'll get a quarterback to make that throw, but the receiver won't do their job, right? They won't continue to run their route. They'll slow up or they'll turn around. I mean, it was perfect. It was a perfect ball, and it was a perfect route. It was a perfect following through of the route. Where the fingertips, it's right there. And I was, Ryan, you were asking, or you were texting me during the game like you always do.
And I thought you were ignoring me while enjoying the game.
No, I was in St. Augustine celebrating my daughter's 21st birthday, And so we weren't at at that point. We were at an establishment that had TVs, but for some of the time we were not. And so I was following along, unfortunately, on a typical Gamecast kind of thing. It was painful, actually. But for that touchdown, we were in a place. We walked in, and I saw one Miami fan that I could see. She had a bandana on. The rest of the folks in there were either not affiliated or they were there to watch the baseball game. So as soon as that throw, I mean, the place erupted. So I knew there were some of my people there. It was a beautiful, beautiful throw.
I was sitting at home watching it from my glorious Samsung Frame TV. And
not a sponsor, by the way.
Yeah, and enjoying a delicious beverage. So earlier that day, I'd gone to a friend's housewarming party who works with events. He had just closed on a house, and so we did that whole shebang, and I had a few drinks and even a cigar at his house, which was fun. And then I made it home.
You're feeling saucy.
30 seconds into the first quarter, I made it into my garage and was doing the whole, like, I'm going from my phone listening on the radio to, like, going inside. Like, the TV, it's taking forever to load the app and everything. So I actually came inside when the broadcast finally said, like, touchdown, and they were watching the play afterwards. So I didn't see it live.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So your camera kind of froze there. You're back now. You're back in black. I saw it live, but a lot of it I did not see live. But that particular touchdown I saw live, and for those of you that are watching, listening, I'm a nervous game watcher. So typically, and I'm gonna be personal. I'm gonna throw it all out there. I have a hard time eating during the game. I don't engage in too much conversation with people. But once that first touchdown, it kind of calmed me down a little bit. But it, because of things that have happened in the past, I wasn't. It just came out. Florida State is ranked number 23 in the second college football playoff rankings.
I was hoping that would be the case. I saw the AP, we were ranked 25. And I was thinking, it seemed a little, just looking at the records of some other teams. I mean, Texas was up in like 18 in the AP. I'm like, they have the same record as us. And I think we played, you look at the LSU game now, and we lost, God forbid we lose to Clemson and Wake Forest. And you're like, I felt like we were getting punished a little bit, but that's good to know. Back in the, doesn't it feel good to be back?
It feels good to it feels good to just be considered. But like I was saying, the reason why I wasn't able to calm down, because I wasn't watching the game. Like, I could not see body language like you could see during the game. Like, had I been able to watch the second touchdown, I think at that point I would have been able to, like, this game is in the bag. But all I saw were, play-by-play, like, text stuff. So, unfortunately, for those of you that watched it live, you probably got to calm down pretty quickly. But I was pretty much on edge, the bulk of the game, even though we were winning by a lot.
Like, you mean, had you seen the blank stare on Mario Cristobal's face, like a second into the game, you might have, been a little less nervous?
Yeah, I think after the third touchdown, I probably would have said this game it's over. Because by that point, I think when I came home, when we got home, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I watched the full game at that point.
Did you watch the full game or the condensed?
No, I watched the full game when I got home.
Because it's great to watch the condensed. I love the condensed version.
Yeah, but the condensed version wasn't available yet, I don't think. But anyway, after that third touchdown, you could see just defeat. There's no way we're doing anything against this team. So Philip had no nerves after the field goal to end the half. Well, yeah, if you think about it, because if you're going to talk about some anxiety, the kicking was an anxiety, leading up to this game, and he's going to nail that. Okay. I
would like to call out your wife on this one, Vince. Ever since your wife, Shannon, has mentioned that he's going to turn the corner kicking, he has.
Yeah, he turned the corner, and she mentioned it like in leading up to the Miami game, right? And so he has. So cheers to Shannon for getting Ryan Fitzgerald back on track.
What's cool about it is you watch the whole game. When he lined up for that kick, he in like 3 seconds, he like put the ball down, walked back, nodded, and like it was the fastest. Like, just put it down, let me kick it. Like, it was very confident.
Yeah, it was interesting, right? Because the clock continued to run, and they had timeouts, right? They had timeouts left.
Yeah.
They had all 3, I think. And they were just so like, this is no problem.
Yeah,
No problem. We're going to run him out there. We're going to kick it, and there's going to be 0 seconds back on the left on the clock, and we're going to go into halftime, knowing that that there is no way the U is going to do anything against us.
And if we're going to talk about Fitzgerald and Jordan Travis, we have to talk about Trey Benson. Trey Benson is a man-child. It might be, and as of last year, I would have had a different answer, obviously, because we didn't have this year's results. But is Trey Benson the best transfer we've gotten in the Norvell era?
I mean, it's tough to say, right? Because, I mean, Jermaine Johnson, I mean, and the way Jared Verse is, after, he was hurt for a little bit, but let's just suffice it to say that the transfer portal has been very kind to us. And thank God that we have a coaching staff that takes it seriously and really seems to have a knack for finding people that fit culturally, have the ability, and they have the the knowledge to coach them up.
He does not like to go down either on first contact. I mean, he bounces off people. Like, I've never seen someone pinball and then break away like Trey Benson does. So we got the pleasure for a couple years of watching Dalvin Cook, who was more of a one cut and gone kind of player. He wasn't terrible with contact, but he was more of a make you miss and I'll burn you.
Sure.
Cam Akers was definitely more of that bruiser, but it feels like Trey Benson has more top end speed than Cam Akers does when he gets in the loose.
Yeah, and it's tough to really gauge too much from this last game. It's funny that we're saying this. It's tough to gauge too much from this last game.
We're playing trash Miami
because they definitely have talent, but they just put up no fight at all. But Trey Benson has really started to come into his own and feeling more comfortable after the injury. I mean, it's just he's just fun to watch, man. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, and it was really nice, really cool about Cam Akers shouting out Trey Benson on Twitter, saying he's representing the number 3. So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
John,
that was cool.
Only time he got nervous was when the second stream came out for a drive. See, I don't think he saw that the experiment wasn't working. I just thought that in that moment he wanted to preserve what the team had worked hard for, and if at all possible, keep Miami from even scoring a touchdown again for another consecutive game. So I didn't see it as, hey, it's not working or not working. I really feel like he was trying to take, the pressure off some of the younger players who didn't break, by the way. I mean, that drive, they were not getting destroyed. They were just little chunks a little bit at a time. They were moving ball down the field pretty consistently, but it wasn't like they got, torched or anything. But I really just think it came down to Norvell understanding how important the rivalry is and trying to hold it to no touchdowns. And I think that was the right move. And we're at a place now, a luxurious place now, where that's an option, where we have multiple layers of starters.
How about that? It's been a long time since we've been able to say that, but think about the chutzpah it takes in that rivalry game to send in your second team and maybe a couple of third teamers in that early in the game. Even though we're up pretty big at that point, but that's experience that you cannot fabricate that only in a game. And the crowd had diminished by that point too. So,
they diminished like 10 minutes into the game.
But just valuable experience So I don't know if it was an experiment. I think it's obviously planned, but I think it's also, important and it's true, Ryan, that you say, let's get some of the starters back in to make sure, we're not just, we're not giving this team any false hope. And of course, they ended up self-destructing anyway to a degree, right? By snapping that. Oh my goodness! By snapping that. Snapping that ball. We're getting some random bot type texts here. I'm not going to be putting these up on the chat. Apparently,
well, at least post the link so people know where to go.
No, we don't want these up on the chat. We're not putting them up.
Hey, that means we're doing something right. That bots actually take the time to follow the podcast, which has over 1,000 downloads.
It does, and we should probably get in the habit of doing this, Ryan, is like you guys that are just diehards, Garnet Old fans that are watching live, we should probably get in the habit, Ryan, of telling people have those people share them out, to kind of get some more momentum here during the live. But yeah, we are not going to be posting these comments.
No, we're going to get rid of them as harshly as Jamie Robinson did that poor Miami player, who he just ragdolled to the ground and threw away like a piece of garbage.
He did. He just dismissed him summarily.
And therefore, that player is dismissed.
And therefore, that play is over.
Yeah.
That
was my favorite play of the game, by the way.
It's, you've heard a couple people say it this week. It's like that is a play that is going to be shown in the pregame hype, in the broadcasts.
Yeah, it's the rain hit from, it's going to be
Stanford
right
Samuels. You're going to see that hit. You're going to see alongside the Marvin Jones hit. Matt Fryer streaking down the right, the top sideline. Charlie Ward in '93. That's gonna be one of those where Jamie Robbins just says, "Not today, sir. Not today."
I would have gone over his head after he fell down and done a little duck down, little teabag.
You think? Well, I'll say, Ryan, you may have done that, but this team doesn't do that, and I am happy about that.
Because imagine that culture.
Because wasn't there a flag that was thrown at that point? And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, they're gonna flag Jamie Robbins.
Well, I think they thought it was a face mask.
The refs were not involved in this game at all.
It was great because that
Truck Benson, yes, John, Truck Benson.
I do feel like other games with these ACC officials. I mean, at first when he threw him to the ground, I thought, like, what did he get his face mask? Because usually when you see a player kind of get, like, tossed, it's usually by the helmet. But no, it was just pure disrespect that threw that man to the ground, not the face mask.
Yeah, at first when I saw the flag, I thought it was going to be some kind of nonsensical roughing. But they stayed out of the way, and the ones that they called were legit on both sides, The pass interference penalties against Miami were really just, we can't compete kind of plays. And then we had a couple, I think we had a defensive holding on us and a couple false starts. But, I mean, they stayed out of this game. It's the first time I've been able to say that in a long, long time.
Yeah, it was nice, and you see what happens when they do. You go to halftime after Fitzgerald hits that kick, and, I mean, the great news is when you're at home and the game is over like that, you're just chilling at that point. You're just enjoying the moment. You're able to go on Twitter and Facebook and start commenting on some saved posts that you might have saved earlier in the day from Miami.
You keeping
fans.
Some receipts from some people? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you definitely have bookmarked a few fans that may have predicted a score, and you do the "how's that going for you" comment.
Right.
And then in the third quarter, at that point, it's joy. It's just pure joy everywhere. Because then you just get to enjoy watching a team come as far as we have, and you get to see that. By the way, what a beautiful touchdown pass from Jordan. He definitely T-bowed it a little bit where he looked like he was going to run, and then just did that quick and then he just threw it right over the
DJ
top.
Lundy. Yeah, DJ Lundy. Let me just say that there's a precedent for fullbacks, scoring, with our team, and the fullback is an unloved position these days. But
Yep.
again, kudos to the coaching staff for taking that guy who was an absolute football player, right, and a linebacker by trade, and finding him some other avenues to showcase his ability. DJ Lundy.
There may or may not be a linebacker 5-star recruit right now that I think
From
we
California,
want to show.
I believe.
I think we want to show some offensive tape that, hey, we'll use it. If you're talented, you'll play like multiple different ways.
We have no problem with that. We got no problem.
And then going straight off this touchdown, let's talk about the Deuce Span thing, which is what an awesome moment. So Deuce Span, it starts getting testy in the fourth
We're kind
quarter.
of jumping around here, Ryan, but that's okay.
That's how I am. When
That's
I'm
fine.
celebrating, I'm not thinking clearly. So in the fourth quarter, it kind of starts to devolve. Miami starts shoving people after every play, and that's the kind of culture they've built over there. So I get it. They want to, if they can't beat you, they want to try to bring you down. And for the most part, I was actually pretty proud because our players didn't really respond. You kept seeing a bunch of players just pull people away, put their hands up. You saw a lot of this.
Yep.
But there was a moment in which it was probably about equal, where Deuce Span got in a kind of shoving match with a player on the sideline. Then you see him walk up the sidelines, and Norvell tries to stop him. And at first, when this first happens, I'm like, oh no, because he kind of dismisses Norvell and like walks right past him, shaking his head. And I'm thinking, oh well, that's not a good look on TV. Until it was, because then Norvell catches up to him, and you can actually, it's not Norvell screaming at him and being like, how dare you walk away from me? He's saying, hey, listen, breathe. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. I understand. Take a deep breath. He's calming him down. He's telling him he still believes in him and to just take a deep breath. And you see him calm down. And then what do? The very next drive, you get the ball to Deuce Span.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that old school football mentality of, getting in people's faces and berating them, there are very few people that can get away with that, and I don't believe it's right anyway. Norvell has a great connection, it seems, with these players where he has the ability to relate to them in a way like he understands. He's trying to understand where they're coming from rather than taking things personally, right? That is it's an amazing trait. It's a trait of humility, right? That he did not take what Deuce Span did as a personal affront to him and his coaching. He was trying to help him through a moment, and if you're a parent of a kid that's being recruited by Florida State, you want your kid to be treated that way, right? That was a commercial. That was a positive commercial for Florida State in that moment. And I'm glad that the announcers and the people that have talked about it since then did not make that out to be anything other than it was.
And they said, hey, this looks great. Like, this is exactly what you do. You get the ball to the player you just had to calm down on the sideline. That's good coaching. They actually said that in the broadcast. I'm like, man, you guys are just nailing it because the announcers are helping it. And by the way, the thing that we've been hoping and dreaming for, Vince, for a couple years now, this is the first game. You heard it a little bit in the Clemson game, but this is the first game where I heard multiple times in the third and fourth quarter, Florida State, what a turnaround by Mike Norvell. They still have a chance at a special season. This group of guys, they really are playing really great football. And they brought up the LSU win, and if Florida State beat that, all those people outside of FSU fandom now recognizing that we're getting better and that are turning things around. This is the first time that I really saw buy-in from ESPN commentators saying it.
Yeah. By the way, John, thank you for joining. Go back to work. I'm sorry you got to work, brother. Enjoy, but thanks for tuning in when you can. Yeah, I mean, it's, if you remember a few years ago, Herb Street was, really brutal about us, mentioning things about, I'm done with Florida State. All they want to do is fight. There's no culture in that. It's been an amazing turnaround from that. And to hear those things back in those days, it did hurt, right? Ryan, that's our school, right?
Yeah.
And we knew those things were going on. We knew that we weren't where we wanted to be or where we should be or where we needed to get to. And now, are we back? No, we're not back yet. We're not back yet, people. But we are, we got some momentum going, right? With the things that are going on. And to hear people outside of our organization, outside of the program that don't follow it like we do, to hear them say things like that, normally I'd say I don't care what people think, and that's true. The rest of the world, the rest of the college football landscape does. And what I mean by that is potential recruits do. So, if some random recruit that's a freshman right now that, is maybe a game changer and they're watching this game with their parents or their mom and dad are watching it and they're hearing positive things about our school, the program, the coaches, that is a good thing.
For sure.
That is a good thing.
And then the feel-good moment of the night for the players who are
yes, we are more back than Texas A&M. Yeah.
But they got the facilities, so good for them.
They have facilities.
The way to end a game in which you're playing a rival and absolutely taking them to the shed is to have your backups in and still score a touchdown.
Yeah.
So that last running touchdown by C.J. Campbell, again, two weeks in a row, he got the last touchdown in a game. It's just like rowing. It's this. It's the salt. Miami's already laying there beaten, and I saw the GIF a couple times where it's like, stop, he's already dead.
Right.
It's like, no, I don't care if it's Florida and Miami. Any other game, maybe not, but if it's Florida and Miami,
no.
I will score it till the very last second.
You have to, and now you may not be throwing, bombs the whole game, right? But you're letting your second team and your third team execute the way you expect them to execute, as if they were in a game that mattered. Oh boy, I said those words out loud. But you're going to let those guys score. They have to, and it's the other team's responsibility to stop them. And if they can't, they can't. That was I forget how long that drive was, but Rodemaker, think about that I think it was a third down, and he ran for the first down.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying, brother. Those are invaluable experiences.
No panic.
No panic. And now, granted, we're up to a point where there's no way they're going to come back. I get that.
But we were up that much at the beginning of the year when he came in panic. So
yeah, that's true. But to see them score and to watch, think about it from a culture perspective. I've heard these reports. You've heard these reports. We've seen it happen where it doesn't matter who's getting the glory or who's making the play. The team is celebrating that. You look at one of those runs that Trey had. I think it was Trey, where Sidney Williams is just trucking down the sideline, just with him, right? Just celebrating as he's running, and that's the kind of teamwork and bond that's being that foundation is there. It's fun to see, man. It's just fun to see. It's fun to see it, even if we're not winning, but it's more fun to see it when we are winning.
We only threw 12 passes, and that means the wide receivers were doing a whole lot of blocking, and they care.
Yeah, and
those
they do
runs
care.
Don't happen. Those big runs don't happen unless the wide receivers are blocking.
Yeah, if you watch the one angle of Pokey Wilson's touchdown, the first one, if you watch the angle from the end zone, you can see Johnny Wilson running like a I don't know, a stick route or something like that. I can't, you can't tell because you don't see the whole thing. But you can see him running his route, and as soon as he sees Pokey getting the ball, his hands go up, right? That's the kind of thing I love to see with our team, where it's not, selfishness. It's not people playing for themselves. Play don't care who makes it. I've heard that before.
Yeah, and I feel like that guy who said it might be a little, I guess, maybe
they're one play away, Ryan.
He might be a little nostalgic now, looking back. Maybe he made the wrong move, but we'll see.
They're one play away.
To wrap it up, though, the cinematic recap, I recommend everyone go watch that on YouTube. That Florida State does, and they're by the way, their in-house social media team has done a really good job. Those cinematic recaps, what I like about them is, it's let's say it's preseason 5 years from now. I love going back and watching those old remembrance videos, and you used to have to rely on, Joe Blow from down the street that made a recap of the 2022 season, and it's got
their hype
heavy
videos,
over the entire thing.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere it gets super loud, and you're like, oh, well, now you got a nice 4K cinematic recap that you can actually enjoy, and it reminds you of the emotion, not just the score and the players, but what went into it, which I really like. So kudos to the social media team, and
they're doing great work.
We should do one last cheers before we move on to anything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing that we cheers right now, Ryan, is that the Seminoles are going to a bowl game.
And how did you like Mike Norvell's answer?
The answer
when
to
asked
what?
About it, they said, "Hey, have you told your players that it's a big moment going to a bowl?" And he's like, "To be honest with you, I really haven't told them. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's great. I'm happy that I get to coach this team another game, but we got bigger things." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about." Like, it's almost like, of course, yeah, we're back to that. Like, yeah, sure, yeah.
Well, and that comment that he said to me, I mean, if you haven't noticed already, I am all in on him. And I've said it from the beginning. I don't know if he's the one that takes us to the mountaintop, but he's got the right mentality, and he is positive, and all these other things. He, at the very least, is going to get us, the majority of the way there.
Competitive again.
Yeah, but that thing that he said, the best thing about it is I get to coach this team one more time. Man, how can you not fight for that guy?
Yeah, he mentions a lot in the cinematic recap and practice reports. You hear the old cliche like every team isn't unique, each year is different in college football, which it is. But he really focuses on it. Like, it's this team. It's not the Seminoles. It's not, I get to coach Florida State. He knows that this team could be much different than next year, could be much different than the year before. Just like our team right now is much different than last year and the year before. So I think he appreciates the work that this team has put in, and especially a lot of the players that were here last year and kind of stuck around. And I mean, think about Jordan Travis's journey from that. I'm sure Mike Norvell thinks back and he's like, this guy went from being told he couldn't throw. I mean, the practice reports when Willie's last year was here was, well, the reason why we don't put Jordan Travis in is because he can't throw.
Right.
Well, clearly that's not the case. By the way, people can say like, well, yeah, but he's been coached. Well, sure, but you don't coach like a quarterback doesn't discover how to throw.
Yeah, it doesn't it's not like the Matrix where you get jacked in and then all of a sudden kung fu.
Yeah.
Right? You have to learn. You have to be coached. So it doesn't just happen like that.
And you've seen, if there's anything this coaching staff does, it's take guys who are maybe been undervalued or not performed other places and gets maximum value, even if it's not perfect. There's other players on this team that good pieces, but they're not elite, but they're much better than when they came in. And we appreciate those guys. And now we're looking at the development on several players that didn't transfer in that are new, that he did recruit, like Preston Daniels and things like that. And you're seeing, he also develops the young ones.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody, it really seems like everybody gets better.
Yeah.
And if you want to take it even a step farther, what you can absolutely say is this team is greater than the sum of its parts.
Mm-hmm. And that's how it should be.
Absolutely should.
If there's any story,
So
in the
imagine,
country,
Ryan, when the parts are better.
Yeah, because the opposite of what we have is Texas A&M, right?
Yeah,
Five
a $30 million class.
When people say hey, he's got this freshman 5-star all loaded class in this class, I'm like, but look at the last 4 years of recruiting since he left here. He's been top 5 classes every single year.
Absolutely.
So every guy on that roster from seniors down is his guy now that he recruited, and all of them are top 5 classes. So the fact that you can have it's an old Steve Spurrier quote. This is going back 96. Steve Spurrier, they said, what do they do with all that talent they got there in Tallahassee? He was trying to make a joke, but what do they do with all that talent down there at Texas A&M? You can have all the talent, but the team is not playing together and the players aren't being developed. If they're not playing as a unit, if the sum of the parts is not greater than the individual pieces, you're going to be an average.
That's a culture problem.
Team.
That's a culture problem. And flew aside, because they definitely have had a lot of. I always give him the benefit of the doubt to a degree.
They got a knee.
They got a knee. They got they got a cough. So they've had some things go against them, and but still, I mean, from a culture perspective, I mean, when we were going to, this is an aside, Ryan. We did not plan for this, but when we were going to St. Augustine for my daughter's celebration, we were doing, we Ubered down because we are trying to be safe, and the Uber driver was a Texas A&M fan. And let me just say that she's not happy. She's not happy.
I was convinced that Jimbo was going to get fired the day after the Florida game, but it didn't happen. So I think they're waiting now to the end of the year.
I mean, that's quite the buyout. I know they have the money, but we'll see. We'll see. I would be shocked, to be honest with you. I would be shocked.
I mean, those fans
only
hate
because I think that there's a mentality at that institution that we don't want to admit that we made a mistake.
Well, they're only a few plays away from being undefeated.
Only a few plays away. Quick note, Ryan, that just going to throw this out there for the people that are going to watch or listen later, is that we are going to go to a bowl game, right? And let's not wait to figure out whether the Chiefs are going to have enough money to go. So,
to cement that point, Vince.
Yeah.
With how empty that stadium was in Miami, where we were kicking them in the face, how much better would that broadcast to be if you could have heard the war chant playing loud and clear in the background after every touchdown?
They broadcasted over and over again leading up to that game that it was a sellout. Not once. Now tickets sold maybe, but not once during the panning of the stadium did I think that the Chiefs could not fit in the upper deck, which is where they put them anyway.
Well, they could just maybe held the Chiefs outside for a quarter, and then they could have sat anywhere they wanted.
That's right. If you're not going to use that seat, which I know you're not, could I use that seat?
You could have had club level, man.
Now, just to say, a lot of times with bowl games, the bowl payout ends up paying for those kind of things. I get that, but let's not wait till the week of, if you're listening, if you're now or later, find that way to donate if you need to for the Chiefs travel fund to make sure we don't run into this anymore.
And FYI, everyone, right now, Schlabach predicts us to go to the Cheez-It Bowl in Orlando against Baylor.
I also heard the Holiday Bowl in San Diego.
I'd rather Orlando, wouldn't you?
Of course you would, but I would rather for my daughter who's in the Chiefs to have to go to a place she's never been before.
Or I would love to go to the Pinstripe Bowl.
That'd be kind of fun too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would go to New York.
Yeah. The Gator Bowl would be
Please.
convenient, but
If we
City
did the
of
Gator
Miami
Bowl,
sell out. Yeah, he was just saying he saw the Gator Bowl as well. Yeah, I mean, for us, right, Ryan, it'd be very
great.
easy to do that. But for the kids, for the team, for the Chiefs, I would love for them to be able to go somewhere where they wouldn't normally get to go.
All right, guys,
Ryan, what do you think about to a bowl game that is not
to a
in
bowl
Florida?
game and to the Miami Hurricanes being garbage. You're welcome for getting rid of Manny.
Yes. Yeah, you're welcome. You've been saying all the time that was the best thing that ever happened to you. Is this last game also the next best thing that ever happened to you? Cheers.
Mm-hmm. Maybe bring out Al Golden. We'll see.
By the way, I don't hold grudges at all, so I just would say I have some friends that are Miami fans, and I know they would be reveling in their victory had it occurred as well. So
Sure.
To my buddies that are Miami fans, I don't know when you guys are going to be back, if ever, but just know that, we struggled for quite a while too, and we understand that. So,
That's what I have to say.
Ryan, what do you think about Randy Shannon celebrating as an FSU coach? That's not what I was going to ask you, but yeah, Philip, you're right. That was funny, right? It was good. Ryan, what do you think about players on the team that post that they're going into the transfer portal and then rescind that notification?
It's going to be commonplace around all of college football. It's the world we live in now where people get, frustrated. They know. I mean, let's be honest. If a good player, a high recruited player, puts his name to the transfer portal, someone's going to grab you.
Sure.
So it's almost like a girlfriend. Like if you're dating someone and you're really good looking, person. When you're young and naive and easy to frustrate or easy to anger, there might always be in the back of your head like, well, I don't need this relationship. I can get any girl I want, or I can get any guy I want. It's that I can make this fix real quick. I can be better and be in a better place right now. I don't have to wait. When the good thing is, if it's a worthwhile thing, then you should be patient and try to develop. But no one wants to be patient anymore. So
no,
I know this is exactly how it went. I'm going to post this. Players start texting him saying, "What are you doing, man? Like, this doesn't look good." He removes it. All the websites report it. Mark Norvell calls him to his office. They have a conversation. He tells him, like, I believe in you. I love you. I think you're going to be amazing. I'm trying to develop you. How about we get better? He says, okay. And now he's at practice today. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so for those of you that are not paying attention to it like we are, Sam McCall, who was our highest rated recruit from last year, after the Miami game, posted that he was going to go into the transfer portal, and then almost immediately after that said it's not official. It was just an emotional response. So here's the thing. They're kids, and they are used to being, this kid was a 5-star recruit and getting all the accolades, probably the best person on his team. And he comes to Florida State. Even as down as we've been, he's not getting the burn like he's used to. And whatever the reasons are, who knows? But that's a kick to the ego, man. And when a kid that doesn't have the wisdom of years and experience, doesn't know how to deal with that emotion, what do the kids do these days? Social media. I hope that it works out, because I think he's, whatever it is that's keeping him from getting more burn, I have full confidence that this coaching staff can get him to the point where he's going to be a great player for us. But the question is whether he can whether he can control the ego in the meantime.
So, if I were to put, and I have no inside info, part of our mantra.
I think we've heard that before.
If I'm the 5-star DB and I see a very, very not 5-star DB, AZ Thomas, get in a game and make a game-stealing interception, or Greedy Vance transfer, who was not highly touted, I'm going to be like, hey, man, in my mind, I'm better than these full, he might like them personally, but he's a competitor. He's saying, why are they getting this? Where's my love? That's what everyone wants, right? They want the love. And to be honest with you, I know it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. When Travis Hunter decided not to sign with FSU, although I was very excited to get him here, and I would actually love it if maybe later down the road he does transfer here when Dion does get a head coaching job, which will probably happen soon. My biggest concern was that he was that do we really want the prima donna in the locker room who, hey, if you're really that dominant and you come out and perform and you're Jalen Ramsey, that's awesome. Then I'm all for it. That's great. But what if that guy had gotten at FSU and had rode the bench? Man, that we could have been having some issues. So Sam McCall is a little bit quieter. He's not he's not Travis Hunter. And he sees some younger players or players that are not as talented stars rating than him getting the rub, but those players might have had a better mentality coming in here to not just walk on, I'm Sam McCall, I'm 5 stars. They might have come in saying, I need to prove it because if I ever want to see playing time. So I think what Mike challenged him is, hey, could you be better than these guys? Yeah, absolutely. How about you go in and earn it? How about you beat them out in practice?
Yeah, if you think about it.
For everyone that doesn't know, Sam McCall was at practice today.
Yes, he was, and got some good feedback about that. The ranking system for recruits coming out of high school is pretty much about God-given ability and talent. And it should be, right? I don't know how much of those rankings have to do with their work ethic and things like that.
No, those kids are blowing out everyone who they play because they're
right. So you get athletes. So you get. I mean, it's the cliche. Hard work, or what is it? Hard work will beat talent that doesn't work hard all the time, right? Or most of the time. So the question then is, if he has that much more God-given ability, which he might, what is it that's holding him back? The coaches are only going to put people in the game that they're comfortable and they have a confidence that they're going to execute to a certain level.
Yep.
So, and what is it that says that I have to play when I'm a freshman? That's all ego. That's all ego. And I don't have any doubt that if this coaching staff felt that a younger player was the right person to play, that they would play them. They've done it. They've shown that. So, Sam McCall doesn't listen to us. Doesn't watch us. Maybe he should. I don't know. He's a great kid. Very talented. The wisdom of years tells you, figure out what it is that's keeping you from doing what you want to do and fix that. Whatever it is.
Anything else you want to talk about in regards to the Miami game?
I mean, I think maybe the only thing that's left to mention is that there's a definite lack of understanding on like a self-awareness on where they are as a program, but that's fans in general probably. And I I messaged a friend of mine that's a Hurricane fan and just said, for people to think that it was just going to be, let's hire this coaching staff and throw a bunch of money at NIL, that it's going to be like all of a sudden we're back to the way it was. That's just delusional.
Yeah.
I don't care how many national championships you've won. I don't care about that. You have to build a culture and a foundation, and that doesn't happen right away. They may end up being a good team again. I don't know. But it's not going to happen this year. And it's probably not going to happen next year. Year 3 is when you're going to see whether it's going to work out. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. So let's move on to Syracuse. I don't think you and I have too much to say about Syracuse. They're an average ACC team. They're better when they have their starting quarterback. We think he's probably going to start. We don't know that. They've been kind of coy about it. I'm pretty sure he will, being that he was a potential go last week. But
so was Tyler Van Dyke.
Yeah. I think we're going to get Syracuse best version of who they are, which I think they're a less talented version of NC State. So they play the same defensive scheme. They have similar personnel, similar talent, I think. Now, we lost to NC State, but we both believe that we play that game 9 out of 10 times we win.
That's the one. That's the one that I look at and go, man, what a...
Because right now, if we had gotten that game, we would still have a chance at 10-win season, which would be like, oh, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I have too much to say about this game, to be honest with you. I think if you, do the same things you've done the last 2 weeks, I see you winning, by 10 to 14 points.
Yeah, so you go, we've finally seen, Ryan, a 60-minute effort from our team. Remember we were saying last time, like, I'm a little hedgy because I've not seen this happen yet. We saw that happen, and it was against a rival. So does it only happen against a rival? If the team that played last week plays next week,
yep,
we have very little to worry about. I don't care who the quarterback is. But they are reeling a little bit, and their 6-0 record to start the season, was bolstered by UConn, Wagner. Who else do we have in there? UVA.
A little Wagner action.
Yeah, and they beat NC State, and they beat Louisville the first game of the season. So, but that's the first game of the season. You never know how those things are going to play out. Louisville is actually kind of, come on a little bit. If Schrader doesn't play, I hesitate to say anything is a given, right? But if it's tough for a team like ours or a team in college to come down off a rival emotional game like that and put together another, banner effort. It's tough. Pro teams don't do that. They should, but they don't do that. But if they have a good week of practice and they come out and give a C+, B- game, we're going to beat that team.
Yeah. If we are even if we play a little sloppy, like how we did against Georgia Tech, I still think we would win this game.
Yeah. And again, I'm not going to pretend that this Miami game changes all the things we've been saying all year, Ryan, because it's not true. This team can beat any team. But I also understand that this team can make mistakes and lose to a lot of teams too. So
yeah,
I'm not going to go out on that limb and say this is a lock, because we've seen enough, chinks in the armor to understand that things can go wrong too. But if you're buttoned up pretty well and you and you don't, continuously shoot yourself in the foot, you bring your B minus, C plus game, you're going to win this game this weekend.
I've got
Cheers.
some advice for Mike Norvell. Free advice. He can take it if he wants. I know he listens every day.
Well, sometimes he listens afterward, but yeah.
Let's just run number 3. Run Benson. Run Benson. Run Benson. I think that is our. We have been back and forth. Like some games, we've been very heavy on the, pretty heavy on the pass in some games, and pretty heavy on the run in some games. We're definitely a team, which I do like about Mike. We don't just run blindly our offense and be like, it's going to work against everyone. We definitely game plan. I mean, they're a game plan team. Like we have different sets that I haven't seen all year still, and we're multiple games in the season. I'll be like, oh, we haven't run that play. That's a weird look that we haven't run yet, which I love because that means we're scouting.
Yeah,
but
I have a feeling, Ryan, that some of the stuff they may have installed for Miami, they never even had to use.
Yeah, which is great.
Because, if you look at some of the stuff that came out, we ran counter almost 50% of the time.
Yeah.
That is a toughie.
We did to them what Notre Dame did to us at home. 2 years ago, where they just literally ran counter every play.
Yeah. I think Syracuse's defense is pretty good, actually. But
they've been less so lately. But
are they as good as NC State's defensive line? Are they as good as LSU's defensive line? Or we've shown the ability to run regardless. So that makes me feel good.
Yeah. You want to do final score? Why don't you go first? What you got?
Poor Syracuse. Hopefully we win this game, Ryan. And we're going to look back on this and go, man, we didn't spend enough time on
No,
Syracuse.
the next time I'm going to even take anyone seriously is going to be the Florida game, and maybe only partially then.
Oh, man. They their offense looked pretty good.
Their
Running
defense
quarterback.
can't stop anything, though.
Yeah, that's true. But that's for a later time. What's the spread on this game, Ryan? And what's the over-under?
I think we were favorites by 8 points or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a touchdown. Let me look at the over/under on this real quick before I give you my.
I can give you my score. I already came up with it.
Okay. Oh, you're well ahead of the game.
A lower scoring effort by us because I do think Syracuse has a better defense than we, have seen from Miami this past week for sure. I'm gonna go final score 31-14. Little 31-14 win. Good game. Some mistakes made. We're good enough to get past it, and we move on, and we're 7-0 headed into the Louisiana Nooner.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. 35-14 sounds about right. I'll go with that. 35-14. We have, I don't know. We got the ball rolling right now, and I think there's a lot of confidence on this team. And I don't think that it's, confidence that that lends itself to laziness. I think they're enjoying winning.
Yeah.
And it's not just they're expecting to win. They're enjoying winning, so I continuously think that they're going to put in the work.
Yeah. I don't see Jordan Travis taking a day off,
Yeah.
All right. Well, we did hear real quick that Louisiana is a nooner. So
We did.
We figure out what that looks like. But yeah, so everyone stay safe during what will be Hurricane Nicole, just when you think hurricane season in Florida is over. Here we go again. I don't know about you, Vince, but the wind tonight has been almost as strong as what we got here in Jacksonville from the last hurricane that came through.
Yeah, and I'm not sure whether that's related to the nor'easter that was coming through or if this is actually Tropical Storm Nicole already hitting us.
I think it's them colliding.
Yeah, be safe, folks, and as we get closer to the Louisiana game, Ryan and I will have another podcast thrown up, and we'll hopefully get a chance to meet with some of you all at the tailgate. But Ryan, I enjoyed this reminiscence of all the goodness that happened this past weekend.
I might go watch the recap again after this.
I've watched the game 3 times now, Ryan.
Yeah, the condensed game, I've probably watched 5 times.
Yeah.
And every time I go, man, Miami had no chance at all in this game.
No.
They
No
didn't even
chance.
have like a whimper where like they run at you with a sword and like nick you a little bit. It's like, no, the game was.
There was nothing happening on their side of the field at all, other than
what's their name? What's his name in Game of Thrones? The large one that joins the Night's Watch.
the large
Sam?
one. Oh,
Sam Tarly.
Samuel Tarly. Yes.
Yeah, he just.
At least he had a redeeming quality. At least he had a redeeming point to him, though. I don't know that the Hurricanes do. Ryan, I appreciate you, brother.
Cheers.
Go
Everyone stay off
Noles.
social media tonight. Just go to bed.
Go Noles. And we'll see everybody soon.
See ya.
This has been Garnet Old. No inside info, no context, no problem.
Go Knowles.